everyone. When we step into the world of Adventures from the Forest, Molemark's memories, we found ourselves in a place where friendship, kindness, and community are at the heart of every story. The Cinnamon Forest, which is a charming bookshop, and its lovable characters, is more than just a setting. It's a reflection of the values that shaped us from childhood. Together, today, we will talk about all these subjects with 𝘃𝗿𝗂𝗲, the psychologist and author of this amazing book that brings a unique perspective to children's literature. His experience working with young minds allows him to craft stories that go beyond entertainment, embedding messages of empathy, cooperation, and self-discovery. But what inspired him to bring these themes to life through storytelling? We will find out today. Hello, 𝘃𝗿𝗂𝗲.
Hello, I'm so nice to be here.
We are very happy to have you here and to explore together this journey as a writer and the deeper meaning behind your story. So I will start with a question. What does it mean to create a world like the Cinnamon Forest, where books are treasured and characters support one another? How was this journey for you to create this whole new world?
I think it was very important for me at the time I was writing the book. It was in 2020, so it was the COVID. And I made I changed my life when I opened a bookshop in 2018. And this was a new life for me. It was a shelter for me. This bookshop was a shelter for me. It was my own bookshop, my very own shop, and I was very happy to do this new job because it allowed me to use my psychology skills in moments of kindness and joy. When you purchase a book, it's a moment of deep happiness. And when my bookshop has to close with COVID, I was I was kind of upset because like everyone, I was very worried for us and for my family, but I needed to do something, and that's when I had the idea of Cinnamon Forest because I think I needed a shelter for me, for myself. I needed to be surrounded by books like I was every day, and I think it was for me. I had a story to tell, the story of Mark Mole, but I needed to put it in a world with comforting, because this is a very hard subject. Memory loss is a very hard subject, and I wanted readers to feel comfy, to feel cozy in a world where they could learn about something very hard, Alzheimer's disease, but with a lot of happiness, with magnificent um, trees, a concert venue, and a lot of food. I think.
Indeed. I have to ask you, how does your experience as a psychologist shape how did it shape the story and your work in general?
I think my experience as a psychologist began as I was like 24 years old. It's very young to be in a professional job as a psychologist to help people at a very young age. And I think I understood because I was working with the elderly in a hospital when I was accompanying families and people suffering from Alzheimer's disease. And I think I learned at this time that life is a continuity of little and big wins, and there is a lot of losses along the way. And I think, when I was young, a very hard time, very difficult time dealing with losses because I was an only child with a very loving mother and a very protective and loving environment. And I never had to deal with losses. So when I began my job at the hospital, it was losses all along the way and all day. So I think for me, I I I think it was important for me to write stories and create books that are the reflection of life with all these wins and all the losses. And so if you're surrounded by a comfortable environment, you can talk about anything. And I think the that's what psychology and this job taught me. It was you can speak about anything if you find the good words to do it.
So the books are a way of sharing emotions and talking about losses, and not only losses, all the difficult emotions and happenings of everyday life. So you encourage the parents to use stories like this to start conversations on these topics?
I think I'm not a very good learner. I think I made psychology studies for 5 years, but I always found it very hard to learn by documentation. I'm not a good universitarian. I think I learn by stories. I think stories are the best way to learn because the fiction and the projection to the characters is a super effective way to feel something, and you have to feel something to learn something. And I think it's very funny because I do a lot of signings in France, and there is a lot of people who come, children with their parents, and so the book is shared by parents and children during a story time, uh, just uh, just before bedtime, and the kids are sometimes very upset because parents can't continue to read because they're crying. And I think it tells us that uh, adults from today, I'm not sure, had all the books and the story they needed when they were young to be allowed to feel and to explain what they were feeling when they were kids. And now with my book, I'm so happy to see that there is this moment when adults and children can learn about the same emotion and to talk about it. There are subjects in Mémoire de la Forêt that are very difficult, but um, putting them in a book allows them to exist, and it's not taboo anymore. So I think it's a way to start a conversation and not to create difficult taboos where very hard to getting rid of when you're adult.
What were the challenges you faced while writing this book? Because, well, the series, because it's not a very comfortable subject, as we mentioned before, and it's a difficult world we live in anyway. So, did you face any challenges? What was the most, I don't know, difficult thing that you experienced during writing the series?
I think the most challenging part was to find the good words because if you write a book for kids that is too adult, the kids won't read it. If you write a book for adults that is uh, too comfortable to children see, the adults won't read it. So I was very worried that nobody would read the book because it was hard to find a universal language to touch everyone. So it was a very preoccupation with my publisher in France. So on the first book had the most corrections of the fourth of the series because we had to find the good way to talk about it and to find the good words. In the first volume, you have the story, but sometimes you have some. Uh, I love to say psychoeducation, where the narrator tells you, you know, when you try to help someone with Alzheimer disease, it's called maladie de l'oubli-tout in the book. You can become the parent of your parents. There are a lot of moments that are kind of learning moments. So it was very hard not to focus on the story and to put some messages, important messages. So it was kind of alchemy. We had to find it. We had a lot of correction, a lot of discussion, but I think we found balance. I think we found the balance, but it was very hard to do on the first book.
How important were the illustrations and the humor in shaping the story?
I when I wrote the book, I didn't know if I was getting published. I didn't know if I was getting on the bookshelf someday, if the book was getting on bookshelf someday. But on the manuscript, I remember writing illustrated books for children by 9 and more. And I was so convinced that it should be illustrated. And I had with my bookshop uh, the luck to meet 𝘂𝗿, who is the illustrator of the books, in my bookshop where I was the bookseller, and she was the invited author to sign another book, another comic book, and we get along, and she was very interested in the story. And that's what you can see at the end of the first book in France. You have illustration, but I don't know how to say it in English, but the croquis, the drawings, the tryings. And so it
The
was
sketches.
the sketches. Yeah, thank you. So it was so important for me to for the book to be illustrated. And when I met 𝘂𝗿, I think it was like it's like an evidence. It was so fit for this text, and I had several proposition, publishing proposition for the book, and some publishers didn't want to illustrate it, and l'École des Loisirs wanted to do it. So
Mhm.
uh, that's made my choice.
I see. Tell me, what's your relationship with the world of books? I know now that we all know now that you were a librarian, so you had your own bookshop and you love books. So I think there's more of a story here. How was your life with books when you were a child?
My relationship with books began because I think my grandmother has a very peculiar job because um, she was oh she was how do you say it? So sorry.
Don't worry, you can say it in French.
She doing the dishes. I don't know how to say
Okay.
it, but for professional for a profession.
Oh, okay.
But she did it in a library. In a library, and a library, not a bookshop, a library, the town library. And she had the keys to the town library because she was doing laundry for them. And so I had the chance as a kid to have the keys of this uh, magical kingdom of the library. So every time the library closed between hours of school, I would go to there were a window that I could open with the keys and just read books from noon to 2 p.m. and then close it again and then went back to school and nobody know I was there. And I think that's what shaped my relationship with books because it was a magical kingdom for me, and just for me it was I had the chance to have a library for myself. I think it began everything.
It sounds really inspiring, to be honest. So if you could go back in time and step into one of these books that you read as a child, what do you think that would be? What's the book that really shaped you as a person and maybe raised in you the willing to become a psychologist or a writer? When was that time when you decided to be a writer? This is a second question, of course.
Hmm. This is a very good question. I just found in an antique bookshop the book I had when I was a kid and that I loved. And so it's not far away. Yep. It was called Les Enfants de 𝘃𝗿𝗂𝘃𝗿𝗂 Children. And I think it was my very first big novel for me to read as a children, and I loved it because it was the story of children were so mean that they are abandoned by their parents in a town, and so they had to deal themselves with all the functioning of a town. And I think I love this moment because that's when I learned that as children we are full of resources. We are full of resources and we are full of emotional resources, and that sometimes children can be underestimated, and that we can't underestimate children as adults and as adult writers. And so I think that's a lesson that gave me this book, and the book that made me want to be a psychologist. That's a good question. Psychologist, I don't know,
Maybe
but
it wasn't a book, but what I really wanted to ask you was like how you what when you decided that you will become a writer. Was it
I
that
think
moment in when you wanted to approach the book writing as a difficult subject, or was something else?
I think I had the luck to be in the literary environment with the bookshop. I think I met a lot of people, and I think during COVID I understood I had something to say, that this experience as a psychologist at the hospital was too important not to be shared, and that all that I learned at the price of suffering had to be shared, and had to be shared with a story. I always I have a computer full of stories. I think I always wanted to write, but I think that the the moment I decided to write for children, it's a moment that was a synonym of freedom for me, because I think found my own voice. And I think the voice that I find and that I love to use is the voice as the fox storyteller, the forest storyteller. I think I love to be in this particular environment, and to spray um, important messages. I think that was the time.
Going back to the characters in the stories, I have to ask you if you have a favorite one.
I think you call it Mark. I think Mark is my favorite character because he's It's like very, he has a lot of struggles, but he's the living proof that love knows no boundaries and no illnesses. Because despite his struggles, to remember who he is, what he have done, we is always keep the love he had for a certain person, and a certain person that he keeps searching all his life. And I think this is, for me, this is a mole with a lot of humanity, and I think is the reflection of life, of old age, and that's why this is my favorite character.
Keep in mind that in Romania we only have the first volume. So
Mhm.
I would very much like you to give our readers a small teaser for how the story continues.
Yeah, so the first story takes place in summer. So the second takes place at the following autumn and following fall. And this is a very hard time for uh, the fox is called 𝘃𝗶𝗯𝗂 in Romania, right? I'm not
Yes,
sure. Yes,
yes.
sure. So uh, Archibald was in a very caring position in the first book. He was there for Mark, but not very present himself to talk about him. So in the second volume, we are getting interested in the origin of the Cinnamon Bookshop, because um, we believe, as 𝘃𝗁𝗂𝗶 that the bookshop was created by the foxes of the forest. But someone comes to town, it's a wolf, and he has something to say about the creation of a bookshop. And this is very hard for Archibald, who is getting evicted from his own bookshop and who has to find the truth. And the truth is not so easy to find because she's imprisoned, she's captured by the mind of his grandfather, who had a lot of difficulties to remember too. So this is a story it's the backstory of Archibald Fox. And then you had another volume in the winter, A Winter's Tale, and the last volume is in the spring.
So more adventures and more psychological insights for the kids and parents to discuss about as the story on empathy and friendship continues. We thank you very much for what you gave us all through your stories. And nonetheless, I would really like you to give a message for our readers, why they should still value books in a world a bit captured by technology.
Yeah, I think books are, for me, it was my salvation. I think in this I am connected. I love to be connected with my readers, but I think books give us reasons to be connected, give us something to talk about, give us something to share, and I think that the message that I wanted to share with this series is that if you find someone who is more fragile than you, then just stop and ask yourself if someone needs help. And I think this is a message that books can learn, and this is values and we can share. And it's important to be connected, but it's important to be connected with values to share. And kindness of empathy is the very values.
I think it's the perfect message to share, to be honest. So thank you again for being here with us and celebrate together the International Children's Book Day. And hopefully to see you soon, maybe even here in Romania.
I would love to. Thank you so much. Thank you.